As a result of the numerous practical jokes that had been played in the month of April over the course of its history, dating all the way back to the beginning of time, when the internet was accessible to the general public, April has earned the nickname the Month of Tomfoolery. Due to the fact that Dragon Ball has such a large fan base throughout the entire planet, the franchise has a great deal of comedic anecdotes related to this occasion. We made the decision to tell you about 3 of them today, one of which is official and the other 2 were made by fans but took off for some reason, with the first one being the one that is probably the most well known. Consider the year 2004 for a moment. In the United States, Z had recently had its first 67 episodes redubbed by Funimation, while GT was still airing in its original time slot in the country. People who were visiting Danzenshuu EX, that's what Kanzenshuu was by the way, which was at the time one of the most credible sources concerning all things Dragon Ball, they came across a particular advertisement. The whole thing looked quite professional, at least for the time when it was made, when file sizes were small and pixelation was aplenty, when video editing wasn't as common of a skill as it is today. It featured several clips from Dragon Ball Z, and voices that seemed to be new. It was not the first time that Dragon Ball AF had been brought up in a public discussion though. Its origins could be traced back to the publication of fan art, drawn by David Montiel Franco for the Spanish magazine Hobby Consolas as early as 1999, of a supposed Super Saiyan 5 by the fan site Margin.com, which took it for the real deal at the time. And then of course there's Toy Ball's Dragon Ball AF, but that's for another day. Those of you who weren't there, let me explain. Because debunking information on the internet took significantly more time than it would do today, you didn't have social media to bounce ideas off of and have things debunked. Many people from different parts of the world continue to believe the urban legend of this brand new series and Super Saiyan 5, including myself back in the day. Even fan communities that didn't even speak English were under the impression for a considerable amount of time that Toriyama and Toei were cooking something. They were in the process, maybe, of creating a new enigmatic series following on from GT known as Dragon Ball AF. Because of this, in 2004, some people didn't immediately believe that it was a hoax. It went on for a long time thinking it's just a legit thing, especially considering that the cast and crew of the then current Danzenshuu EX made everything to make it appear as though it were a real thing, and that Vegito EX himself was the person who edited the commercial. The ingenious way that it was accomplished was by using Japanese clips from Dragon Ball Seiyu, but from One Piece and Shoujo Kakume Utena, because those shows featured a lot of the same actors, and a lot of talking scenes that were devoid of background music, so it made it a lot easier to edit, and trust me, as an editor, it's a lot easier when you just have vocals and no music underneath. Kyoji Sayonji in Utena, played by Takeshi Kusao, Trunks, would be the central focus. As Sayonji tends to go a little crazy at times, his voice wavers and he gets upset. What to do? Okay, great. Future Trunks returns and he is evil now. We start developing a potential plot in which Trunks has, once again, returned from his future. While he has destroyed the artificial humans, it makes no difference. The horrors they have brought upon his future have finally caught up to him. Trunks has been driven insane, which is perhaps hinted at during the course of DBZ. He is not the most mentally stable character in the world, and that is shown as much as it can be in a show like this. From there, the characters of Luffy, Mayumi Tanaka or Krillin, and Dr. Kuriha or Doctorine, that's Masako Nozawa or Goku, were taken from the Drum Island arc in One Piece. Luffy is always sounding a little wacky, so we took a light-hearted line and made Krillin say that Trunks must be joking around. On the other hand, Dr. Kureha says some pretty serious things and sounds almost evil. Well, perhaps serious is more appropriate. If anyone asks, it's just Goku in Super Saiyan 3 or 4 when he speaks slightly differently. However, that wasn't everything that happened. The website featured, in addition to those trailers, what appeared to be printed advertisements of the actual alleged new series being developed and being showcased in Japanese magazines. Those had been created by Julian Sayer Jedi Grabowski. I'm very much familiar with his work. As a starting point for its creation, the creators looked to a Japanese advertisement for an upcoming Dragon Ball box set. In addition to that, in the event that you are wondering what the AF leaflet was actually stating, yes, Toriyama is being quite gloomy in this passage, isn't he? We will provide a link to the article in which Julian exposes the hoax in its entirety if you indicate that you are interested in learning more about the background of this story. Even though there were quite a few people who didn't believe the rumor, and a lot of those people couldn't understand Japanese, and a lot of those people really valued the crazy, insane effort that Vegito EX and Saiyan Jedi put into the hoax back when it was being perpetrated. This was big league stuff back in the early 2000s. Not bad. However, despite the fact that this may be one of the more well-known rumors that was created by fans, let's look at the one that was spread by Toei itself. In 2017, it was revealed that Dragon Ball Super would be getting a new saga. We were on the 83rd episode of Dragon Ball Super at the time, which meant that it was fairly obvious that it was a hoax. But it was still hilarious.
In the midst of the economic depression of the space scale, said to be once in centuries, the country-born Son Goku miraculously decided to get a job. The scenario that we waited there was not only to wait for jobs to be given, but also to get them. Is there a crisis of in-house faction fighting and company hijacking? We look forward to the success of Goku, whom he struggles strictly and has an enjoyable social life. Behold, Social Survival Saga!
My god, just look at how well they pull off these outfits. We're unsure of who we love more than anyone else. It may be Piccolo, Boo, the GP, Tenshinhan, but a few of those characters have a cool sense of style. Additionally, what's even funnier is that Super Dragon Ball Heroes has adapted this into an arcade mode ages known as Surviving City Life Parts 1 and 2, also featuring Frieza. It would appear that Goku transforms into Super Corporate Freshman in order to do battle with Frieza after the latter tricked Krillin into working for Cold Company rather than DB Incorporated. Also, it appeared that Piccolo holds the position of Head of Personnel for DB Incorporated. Aww. He's the boss, that's a sweet gesture. There's one more joke, and even though it's on a much smaller scale than the two that came before it, it was still very funny. Back in 2018, when many of us were eagerly awaiting for more information about a supposed new Dragon Ball movie, which at the time had not been given the name Dragon Ball Super Broly, we were given some astounding new details about it. You see, Goku was on the verge of collaborating with magical girls, more specifically, Pretty Cure. You should know that we were just jumping off the train from the Tournament of Power, where we had the Kamikaze Fireball, so it seemed like nothing was impossible at the time. And of course the history of what Toei has with magical girls. It's kind of funny when you think about it, because back then, all we had was the poster done up in Shintani style. The first trailer of the film was not going to be released for another couple of months, which seemed like yet another April Fool's joke at the time. Nevertheless, this was on the less dangerous side of things. The number of pranks played on April 1st has increased in tandem with the changing attitudes surrounding April Fool's Day. Instead of intentionally misleading other people today engage in activities that are more creative and open to interpretation. There's already an excessive amount of fake news, so in spite of this, it's important to keep in mind that Dragon Ball maintains its comedic style by intentionally making its viewers feel a bit silly. Do you happen to recall any additional examples? Which one did you enjoy the most of the time? Make sure to let us know what you think by leaving a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. And I will see you in the next video. Catch you later!